subtract integers. Now again, I thought overall the scores are pretty high, and I would like to think that was because you used your number line. How many of you used your number line? At least as something to reference to look at. Sooner or later you won't need it, but it just at least gives you that idea of where you want to be. So we always said there, what we said yesterday is that where we begin is known as our starting point. So if we have a subtraction problem that says 2 minus 6, can I switch the order of a subtraction problem? Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I can't switch it if you just want to make it 6 minus 2. That's not going to work. So let's take a look at where we should be anyway, and then we will see. I can show you how to switch it if you want. Our starting point is at a positive 2. I know I'm subtracting 6. I go to the left, 6 places from my 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it puts me at Africa. Negative 4. Okay? Negative 4. And if you think about it, if it was 2 minus 2, it'd bring it back to 0, would it not? Well, 6 is 4 more than 2, so that puts you another 4 places in the negative, gives you negative 4. Now, I brought up the fact, could you change the order of this? And the answer is yes, as long as the symbols or the sign in front of your number stays consistent. If I'm going to move this 6 to the front, what's going with it? The negative. If I'm going to move this 2 back, what's going in front of that? It's the same problem. Now we just have a different starting point. So now my starting point is negative 6, and I'm going to add 2. 1, 2 puts me where? Negative 4, just like in the previous. Okay, so if you're dealing with a negative integer, like we were here, that 2 is positive, you can switch them around. But you just had to make sure that if there's a, we call it a subtraction sign, if that's in front of the number, you consider that to be a negative sign, okay? So not to confuse you, if you'd rather just keep it as is, be my guest, whatever works best for you, okay? But the way we use the number line today is the same way that we used the number line yesterday, okay? So, for example, if I have a negative 7 minus 4, negative 7 is my starting point right there. I'm subtracting 4. I'm going to go 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Key? Negative 11. Okay. Pardon me? Well, they're both negative. So I would start at negative 4 there, go 7 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did it put me at the same spot? Right? Okay. There is one thing that we need to look at. Now, yesterday we had problems that looked like this. If you had a 3 plus a negative. And we came to the conclusion that when we add a negative, what are we really doing? So it's really saying this, okay? Now, if we have something like this, where we say minus a negative 2, well, if adding a negative was subtracting, what's subtracting a negative going to be? Adding. So this is plus 2. 3 plus 2 would equal 5. What I like to recommend is that, you know, when you see these and you see the 2 negative signs, go ahead and just make them plus. It's fine. Then you're adding a positive, which what you do all the time, what you've done ever since you've learned how to add, is adding a positive. So I'll put a few up here, a couple for you to try, and then if we're good to go, we'll be good to go. Bless you. Three minus -8, we said is just like adding. So if you go ahead and you just make those addition, now it's a 3 plus 8. 3 plus 8 is 11. Now again here, -1 minus a -13. Now, do I make the first negative a positive? No, that's my starting point. I leave that alone. It's protected. But I can make those positive. So a -1 and 13 places to the right puts me at 12, positive 12. And then finally, the -9, which is there. No parentheses, no confusion, just a subtraction sign, which means go to the left. 4 places, Sophia, -13. Problems like this, if you write them out, it's really easy for you to just do this part on your own. And you just make those addition, then you know what's going on. Okay? Don't confuse yourself and say that, oh, two positives together equal a negative. No. Positives always will just equal to be the positive. Okay? Just like when you learned your addition, you wouldn't learn any fancy tricks. That were the case that every time you added in first grade, then all your answers would have been negative. It's not the way it works. So I'm going to give you some more to do. I would encourage that you use your number lines just as a reference. Pardon me? This is homework. Anyone interested in a redo for the addition? Do a redo for the addition? Not quite. Page 32.